What's up everybody, RetroYGO here, and today we're doing our first ever tier list on the channel. Today's tier list is going to be the meta decks for the June 2023 format. The ban list has just come into effect within the last 24 hours, so what better time to do a tier list for the format, so you guys know which decks to play and which decks to not play. Let's get started. Okay, first deck we have is Branded. Branded is a tier 1 deck. It is most likely the worst of the tier 1 decks, but it is still a top deck. Nothing really got hit. Branded Expulsion getting hit didn't really matter. They still have their new Albion Dragon. And if they can gimmick Puppet Lock you, that is going to be a deck that's just unfair in some capacity because it does something unfair. Whoops, microphone. Don't do a gauge. Okay, next. Super Heavy Samurai. So this deck lost everything. It's a tier 3 deck. Losing the ability to have a 1-card combo and just being very inconsistent and fragile to every single hand trap makes this deck just not worth playing. It can still make insane boards, but so can a lot of other combo decks. That doesn't mean they're good. Kashtira, still a top deck. It got less consistent, they lost Hacker, but they can still play a Rise Heart Control, they can still summon Shangri-Ira, their monsters are still really big and degenerate. They can play Shifter, which any deck that can play Shifter is going to have a contention. I mean, what can you say? It's Kashtira. It's not going to do anything different outside of the fact they now cannot 5-zone lock you. But if they set up a strong enough board and you don't have the answers, so you can't answer my answer, then it's still going to be a top deck. Not much really to say. Mathmic, Joshua Schmidt, look away. It is a tier 2 deck. It is still just as good as it was before. No worse, no better. What can you really say? It's Mathmech. They lost 2 circulars, but they still have 3 small worlds. They still have 3 Signet Mining. The deck is still going to set up the exact same situations it could before. The difference is now everything else is weaker. Mathmech is just as strong. Dragon Link. This has been tier 2 for the longest time. There's not really much to say about Dragon Link as a whole. It's still just as good as it always will be. It's essentially the new version of Frog Monarch. And what I mean by that is Frog Monarch was always a deck back in the last decade where you could play it and it wasn't ever going to be the best deck, but it was never the worst deck and it was always capable of winning. That's essentially where Dragon Link is. It's capable of winning any game, but it can absolutely lose every game. Sword Soul. Again, this is another version of the decks. Sword Soul is, despite having Denglong back, it's probably not going to matter a whole lot. Sword Soul is just as good as it was before. It's always going to be outpaced by every other deck in the format above it for virtue of all of these. Yeah, God. What is wrong with my microphone? Okay, anyways. Yes, Sword Soul. No better, no worse. What can I say? It's Sword Soul. Purely. This is sad. If you asked me what the one card I wouldn't want them to lose in the deck was, it would have been Delicious Memory. Not having access to Delicious Memory as effectively now, and being that that was the one that had Plump on it, that's the one that referred to Plump, Delicious Memory, just it's the worst because now it's really inconsistent to try and set up a first turn Noir with 5 materials. So yeah, I can't put Purely in tier 1. Purely is a tier 2 deck at best, which is really sad considering it just came out. Sprite and all its variants. I think Sprite is a very good deck. It is going to be tier 1. The engine is still relatively untouched. It can be crossed with almost anything. You have Sprite Runic, Sprite Live Train Runic, Sprite Melfi, Sprite for Hire. Just Sprite in so many different variants, so many capacity. It is still a top tier engine and a top tier deck. It's got no real bad matchups. If you consider this, something that Josh Schmidt was talking about the other day is Sprite can open in a way where no hand trap can stop you from playing your game. That's just a fact that the deck plays through every hand trap, meaning you'd have to use board breakers. We're going to be covering board breakers in another video. But yeah, Sprite is just as good as ever was before. What can you really say? It still sets up negations with red and carrot. It can still set up interruptions with the runic cards. It can just do an insane amount of drawing turn 1 with the live twin cards. It's just so much it could do. It's a top tier deck. Sun Avalon, or Rika Sun Avalon. So if you are exactly Jess Robinson, aka Sunseed Jess, this is a tier 0 deck, and you will win all of your games, probably be topping every event, maybe even go to the finals. If you are anybody else, this deck is unplayable. Just don't play it. Everyone else, Jess Robinson. Jess Robinson, tier 0. Everyone else, tier 0. Water. Trap Tricks, my favorite deck. Yeah. This is the deck I'm playing for the budget series, and I've been testing it out for the new format. I'm sad to say this, but it is a tier 3 at best. It's just so sad. It's just not good. Sky Striker is also tier 3. It is not better than any of the decks above it. It is probably on par with a lot of these decks. They get an extra engage and they have multi-roll. That's about all. But at the end of the day, you're still playing Sky Striker. And we're in a format where everyone is playing Kaijus or Santa Claus or something that will clog your main monster zone. The deck just is not good. Just maybe in another format, but not this one. Labyrinth. I think Labyrinth might actually be the best deck of the format. The traps are extremely recursive. The furniture version is insanely powerful. The ability to set up traps and be able to activate them on turn 1, it's so good. This deck is insane. It's just the best trap deck of the format. The new archetype, Vanquish Soul. It still needs more testing before we can make a definitive answer, but this is a very powerful deck. This has gotten a few recent tops, and it could actually be just the best deck of the format. It could be the best deck of the format. We just need more time to test it, but for now, top of tier 2. Okay, I don't know why everything here came up twice. So, Plunder Patrol. It's okay, it's got some combos, but tier 3. Naturia Runic. This deck is damn near unplayable now. They lost a tree. That, I don't think people realize how big of an impact losing 2 Naturia trees is. It's just so impactful. This is the Naturia tree was the card that allowed you to recur your resources. If you get stopped by hand traps now, you don't have recovery. That is a big deal. This deck is just crippled. It's not good anymore. Do not play it. Eldritch. I know CapG got a top with this, or someone got a top with Eldritch at the most recent YCS. That doesn't change the fact it's still an unplayable trap deck. Just play Labyrinth. It's the better version of Eldritch. Dark World. Dark World is still a solid tier 2 deck. If the format does not have Droll. If the format has Droll and Lockbirds in it, then it is not going to be a playable deck. If the format does not... if the format does have Droll and Lock, then this deck is unplayable, right? If the format does have Droll and Lockbird, then this... does not have Droll and Lockbird, it's a tier 2 deck that can win against any of the top tier decks. But with Kashtira still in the format, Dark World is going to be... it's gonna be difficult, right? That's just a fact. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Okay, guess what? We've already done everything. So, guys, this is the tier list for the June 2023 format. There are other decks on here that we did not include. And you know why? Because they're irrelevant. They were irrelevant last format. They will be irrelevant this format. I mean, who's really showing up to a tournament these days with Ghost Trick or Elemental Heroes and expecting to do well? No one. So guys, I'm RetroYGO. This is the tier list for the June 2023 format, and unlike everyone else's tier list, it's clean, it's clear, and it's refined. No mess of decks.